desire. The real unfulfilled desire is for me to feel what God feels right now.
Yes.
That's it.
In this moment.
In this moment. Okay. That was that I picked up from Abraham, and I said that to you, and you backed that up. Chris, a couple of months ago, when he sat around at the table with me, and he also sat with you, I think he said this. And I think he said this out of a frustration, or he said this out of a better way to deal with frustrations, or a better way to deal with the planet. And he said it to me over in the park one day. The only thing I want, right now, moment to moment, I want to feel more of source energy. I said, well, Chris, you've defined your unfulfilled desire each day. That is the most important thing for you, your priority. The most important unfulfilled desire is for you to feel source energy. Yes, I want to summon that, more of that. That's what this is. See, and what he's saying, and you'll agree, and I'll even agree, before you can have anything out here, do anything, you got to be source energy.
If you're going to influence this consciously.
Yeah. I did this once. You got to surrender and hold the space and vibrate source energy before anything's going to happen out here.
Which means holding the space is being the space of source energy.
Yeah, you got to do that.
Okay. Let me give you something.
Is that not putting a horse before the carriage?
What's that?
Me getting still, getting clean, holding space for source energy, being space for source energy, right?
Yeah,
and vibrating that passageway has to be clean and vibrant for anything to show up out here.
Yeah.
You can't put the carriage cart before the horse.
Well, this shit is showing up out here because you're doing it unconsciously.
Unconsciously. But let's just say...
ineffectively, in terms of...
Deliberate. Let's talk about the second law, deliberate creation.
Yeah.
Law of attraction, deliberate creation, and allowance. The three laws. Okay. Now, I did this. I told you the story. It's a quick story, but it's probably my most exciting story, and I did it, and I fall off. I fall out. Okay, the shop, it's 1998, the shop's falling apart. I'm standing there with $2, okay? I feel boxed in my life. I feel lost. I feel angry. I feel despair. I feel the fear. I feel the worst vibratory emotion. Hate everything. I go into the cigar room. I write on a wall. I have complete hatred for myself and disdain for this entire life. I hated this whole life. I put that on a wall. I walk out. I stand next to this table. And all of a sudden, like I left that vibration and I walked out here, and I guess I was still, because I said my piece. That's it. This is where I am. This is the reality. This is what I am. And I stood out here in stillness, and then like a little thought, more so than a voice, a thought, a feeling, more so than a thought or a voice, a feeling came through. Okay, big shot, if you could get out of here, what would you want to do? What would I want to do? I'd go up, I'd grab the money out of the cash register, go up to Philadelphia, get on a plane, right for Santiago, go in, get a box of cigars, get a cab, go right to the North Shore, get a bottle of Brugal, go right to Puerto Plata Beach, and sit down and just say, okay, it all starts here. Cigars, booze, broads, cigars. I didn't realize that was the theme, but that was the theme. Now that I think about it, I didn't realize that. And sit here, and that's...
All that was a sense of ease and flow and aligning with source energy when you were in the pits of despair and said, not this. You were moving back from... You had taken the rubber band, stretched it all the way out here, and you said, I can't do this anymore. And you're, okay, what would you do?
I'll tell you what nobody was saying, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'll tell you what I would do. It's real simple. Okay, what would you do? Bing, 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 and that's it. And I'm sitting here on a beach, booze, bikinis, and cigars. And I didn't really think about it, but that's the theme. And that's it. Take a breath. I'm free. Mm-hmm. And then I fell back into the shop. I didn't realize what I had done there in the 11th hour. If you would have walked in that shop and I was writing on here and you said, here's a German Luger, go ahead, shoot you, I would have shot myself. complete, total despair. I wrote so much stuff. I had complete hatred for this whole goofy fucking thing.
Well, that's basically a conversion moment.
Now, this was somewhere like in the late summer. The letter comes in from the Dominican Republic. You know that story.
Yeah.
I don't realize any of this shit until 6 months.
You did it. You basically had a hammer when you said, "This is what I'll do." Bang.
Bang.
And then it happened by itself.
Absolutely, I did nothing.
You demonstrated exactly what he was talking about here, unconsciously, without knowing what you were doing.
Absolutely, because when that little voice came in, okay, lover boy, yeah, what? if you could get out of here, it was almost challenging me, testing me. Okay, if you could get out of here, what would you do? I'll tell you what I would do in a New York second. Bing, plane, there, no clothes. I don't give a shit about the clothes. And that's it.
Okay, you had all the bullshit out of the way, and you had all that emotion build up from that bullshit to bang.
Bing, 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 bing. That's it.
That's why you didn't have to sit there and focus on it and pour energy into it. It was just bang.
Okay, now here.
That's first cause creativity. You can do that with anything.
But let me just tell you my realization. Now, 6 months later, I only in hindsight did I put the story together, and only in the future, but later on. I'm sitting there in February, 6 months later, right? At this table. I got the beer, I got the cigar, I got the broads, I got all these baseball players around me that I idolized. And Juan Marichal comes up to me.
Well, they got thrown in there with part of the deal without you even asking. Remember, he says it can be better than you expected?
Well, let me just tell you this. The punctuation of this whole thing, I'm sitting around here, Don Larson, Bill Mazzaro, all these I'm sitting with all these, I studied their box scores, right? They all want to talk to me because I got the cigars. Marichal comes over and says to me, you got the table here, the Hall of Fame table, why don't you call this the Jody Kish Golf Classic? Instead of me, right? I'm sitting here thinking, right? Now, only later, I said, wait a minute. Go back. You were asked, what would you do? You threw that story out. 6 months later, you got a story. The story that you got was a fantasy that you could not imagine or create.
So much better than you could imagine. All you did was give it skeletons and it put the meat on the bone.
Now, how did it know that I would 6 months later be underneath the Christmas tree? How did it know that?
Because it was there waiting for you to show up. Didn't you hear him? There's a state of your consciousness sitting out there where you're supposed to eventually occupy. It was there waiting for it. It was really waiting for you to come over there and actualize it. And that moment of despair caused you, it gave you the moment of despair to actually clear the decks. What do I really want? Bang. That was bang, and that's what it really wanted too, and bang, it happened. And that's why he says, don't put too many details in it. You'll probably sell yourself short. Isn't that the ego selling itself short?
Control.
And you said it perfectly. I have self-hatred. The self-hatred.
What was that? What did I hate? I hated my ego.
You hated it's your ego hated itself. It was sick and tired of being sick and tired. It's like, this fucks, there's a better way. And generally these guys will say, there is a better way here. There must be a better way than this. That's your moment of saying, and you're right, Charlie, there is a better way. It's about time you figure that out.
I had to have that suffering, though.
Well, Bill Samuel says he says there may be exceptions, but he knows very few people come to the enlightenment stage or moving in that direction without suffering. That's what it takes. You got to it's got to hurt worse than your fear of it. Worse than your fear of the unknown.
Yeah, it was worse than that. Who gives? I didn't give a fuck.
The unknown is.
Shoot me, where's the gun?
The unknown's a good deal compared to this.
The unknown's
this is hell. I've been worried about going to hell. It can't be worse than this. And in that moment, all of a sudden, it opens up.
Well, that was a good description.
Yeah.
Hell, the unknown cannot be worse than this. Give me the German Luger.
Yeah.
I'm the fuck out of here.
Okay, now wait a second. I want to do something.
Now, so this makes sense to you, I had that, huh?
Absolutely. Makes perfect sense. Now, I've been recording that.
You recorded that?